The second I stepped through the front gate, I heard the shouting. Not just shouting, screaming. Razor sharp. Angry. Full. Wash the dishes like your useless mother did before running off. My heart dropped. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I froze for half a second, my hand still gripping the gate latch. Then I heard her, my daughter's voice, shaking. I'm trying, I just... Clang. A plate hit the floor. Glass shattered. I didn't remember walking. I remember storming. And there she was. My 8-year-old daughter, Harper, stood on a stool in front of the sink, her small fingers soaked and trembling as suds dripped down her wrists. Her cheeks were red, tears cutting paths down her face. Pieces of the broken plate glistened on the tile like guilt. Across the kitchen stood my stepmother, Nancy, arms crossed, eyes full of contempt. Can't even wash a plate right, she muttered. Like mother, like daughter. And that's when I saw them, my half-sister Amber leaning against the fridge, grinning. Her 2 teenage daughters sitting at the table eating chips, pointing at my child and laughing. I clenched my fists. Step away from her, I said, my voice cold, slicing through the air like a blade. They turned. Nancy blinked. Oh, look who decided to show up. You left her here for the day. Don't get mad if she's learning how to get away from my daughter. I stepped forward, my heels clicking hard against the tile. Harper saw me and cried out, Mom. She ran and buried her face in my waist. I could feel how hard her tiny heart was pounding. Nancy raised her eyebrows. You're overreacting. The girl needs discipline. You spoil her. I looked down at Harper. The dish soap still clung to her sleeves. Her hands were red from the hot water. Spoiled? She was terrified. Amber laughed. Oh, please, you're just mad because she can't handle chores. I held my daughter tighter and stared straight at Nancy. Your time in this house is done. She scoffed. Excuse me? You heard me. I gave you and Amber a place to live when Dad died. Rent-free. Utilities-free. Because I thought maybe, just maybe, we could still be family. But you humiliated my daughter in my home. Nancy narrowed her eyes. You wouldn't dare. I pull my phone out. Open the app. Tapped once. I just listed the property for sale. The color drained from her face. Amber shot up from the fridge. You're bluffing. I turned the screen around. You'll have 30 days. No, wait, this is our home. Dad left this house to us. No, I said calmly. Dad left the house in my name. Because I paid off his mortgage for years. I didn't even ask for anything back. I let you stay. But now? You used my daughter to vent your bitterness. So you can pack up. Harper looked up at me, wide-eyed. Are we leaving too? No, baby. I kissed the top of her head. This is still your home. Then I turned to Nancy, one last time. You've got 2 weeks to figure out your life. The sound of Amber swearing behind me didn't even touch me. My daughter's tears had already dried. And for the first time in years, so had mine. But I knew this wasn't the end. They wouldn't leave quietly. And I wasn't done either. They had no idea what I'd been building behind the scenes. Because the past they mocked me for wasn't even real. And the truth was about to destroy them. 2 days passed. Not a word from Nancy. Not a word from Amber. But I knew better than to mistake silence for surrender. So I prepared. I wasn't the same girl they remembered. The girl who'd once begged her father for a spot at the dinner table when Nancy and Amber took over the house. The girl who washed their clothes while juggling 2 jobs and finishing her GED in the basement. No. That girl was gone. I was a woman now. A mother. A business owner. And soon their landlord no more. By the 4th day, Amber knocked on my office door. Not my home office, my actual one, where the sign on the glass read, Mara Weston, founder and CEO, Weston Restorations. She walked in with her knockoff purse and her daughter trailing behind, eyes flickering like they were entering a courtroom. "Mara," she began, twisting her lips into a forced smile. "Let's talk like adults." I leaned back in my chair. "Now you want to talk?" Saturday, we didn't mean anything by it. You know how Nancy gets. And the kids were just joking. You mocked my child while feeding your daughters off my paycheck. And now you want sympathy? I'm just saying. Amber's voice tightened. If you make us move, where are we supposed to go? I folded my arms. That's not my problem anymore. You knew who that child was. You knew what you were doing. Her eyes darkened. You think you're better than us now. No, I said calmly. I know I am. She slammed her hand on the table. Dad always said you were selfish. You never cared about anyone but yourself. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I opened the drawer, pulled out a single sheet of paper, and slid it across the desk. Amber glanced at it, confused. What's this? The forensic accounting report. Her brow furrowed. For what? The years I paid Dad's mortgage. Every dollar. Every receipt. Every transfer. I tapped the bottom line. Signed off by the bank and notarized. When he passed, the will made that clear. You were lucky I let you stay. But now... I stood. We're done. She left cursing under her breath, but I wasn't even angry. I felt clean. Solid. Clear. Later that week, I sat Harper down on the porch swing and held her hand. Do you want to talk about what happened? She hesitated, then whispered, Why does Grandma hate me? It cracked something in me. I brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. She doesn't hate you, sweetheart. She's angry at the world. And when people like that see someone kind, someone innocent, they get scared. So they try to make you small. Harper looked at me with those soft, serious eyes. Are we still safe? I nodded. Safer than ever. That night, after she went to sleep, I went down to the basement. The same basement I used to cry in after Nancy would scream at me for folding the towels the wrong way. The same place Amber once locked me in for 3 hours on Christmas Eve just to teach me a lesson. But I wasn't here to cry. I was here to pack. The property sale had triggered a full inspection. So I went through the old floorboards, remembering what I'd hidden there years ago. And I found it. A dusty box. Documents. Photos. Letters my father had written, but never mailed. Apologies he was too late to say aloud. One letter, in particular, was addressed to me. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And I know you'll probably never forgive me. I let them push you aside, and I lied when I said I had no choice. But I left the house in your name, because you were the only one who ever gave more than she took. I'm sorry, Mara. I hope one day you find peace in this house, even if I didn't. I folded the letter and closed the box. He was right about one thing. I would find peace. But not here. And not until Nancy and Amber were exactly where they belonged. On the outside looking in. It was the 11th day. Nancy and Amber had stopped pretending. The smiles were gone. The passive-aggressive texts turned into full-blown threats. Amber had left a voicemail that morning screaming, We have nowhere to go, and if you think you're going to throw us on the street, you'll regret it. I didn't respond. I had bigger things to handle. Because 2 days earlier, I'd quietly pulled something else from that dusty basement box, a folded, yellowed agreement my father had signed behind everyone's back. One line stood out. In the event of my passing, all assets revert to Mara Weston, who is entitled to remove any cohabitants not contributing financially to the estate. He had signed it, notarized it, tucked it away beneath the furnace. It wasn't just a will. It was protection. And now it was ammunition. At 3:37 p.m. that Thursday, the knock came. Not at my door, but theirs. Nancy opened the front door, bathrobe half-tied, hair in pink curlers, and there stood a woman in a navy blue blazer with a clipboard and a camera crew behind her. I'm Sarah Jennings with Channel 9 Local. Are you Nancy Graham? Nancy blinked. Yes. The reporter smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You've been named in a story we're covering about property fraud and harassment claims. Would you care to comment? Amber appeared behind her, mouth slightly open. What? What are you talking about? but I was already watching it from my car, parked a block away. I had filed a formal report, a tenant dispute, combined with verbal abuse witnessed by a minor, on property legally owned by me. The news outlet got wind of the claim when I submitted proof that Nancy and Amber had been living rent-free while my daughter was mistreated under their roof. They wanted to cover unseen abuse in blended families. Nancy lost it. "You can't just show up like this. I'll sue." But the reporter replied, "We're simply reporting facts, ma'am. You're being evicted." Is that true? The camera zoomed in on Amber's horrified face. The next day, the footage aired. Local, then regional. Nancy Graham and Amber Meyer, evicted after abuse allegations. It didn't use Harper's name, but people knew. Small town. Fast whispers. The fallout was fast. Amber's oldest daughter lost her college scholarship after the university saw the report and reopened an investigation into prior bullying complaints. Nancy's bridge club removed her. Permanently. Amber's employer? She was let go for violating the company's ethics clause after I anonymously sent the HR department a clip of her laughing at a child doing dishes in tears. And then came the police. No, not for an arrest, but for a final notice of eviction. Amber sent me a last, desperate message. "Please, just give us 2 more weeks. We have nowhere to go." I didn't reply. Instead, I drove Harper past the house 2 days later. Our house now empty. "For sale" sign in the yard. Windows open. Curtains gone. She stared for a while, then asked, "They're not coming back?" I shook my head. "No, they're not." She turned and looked out the window quietly, then smiled a little. "Good," she said. "It feels lighter now." I smiled too, because I knew something she didn't. I hadn't just sold the house. I bought a new one, far away from their shadows. And the best part? I didn't need revenge. I just needed peace. But the past wasn't done unraveling just yet. Because as I packed the last box, I found a voicemail on my phone from an unknown number. A voice I hadn't heard in 10 years. "Hey, it's Kyle. I heard what happened. I think we need to talk. It's about your father and your daughter." My heart stopped. Harper's father had vanished years ago. Now he was back. And he wasn't alone. I hadn't heard that voice in almost a decade. Kyle. The man who left me with a newborn and an eviction notice. The man who vanished with a suitcase and a promise to figure things out, then never looked back. I played the voicemail again, just to be sure. "It's about your father and your daughter." What could he possibly mean? I didn't want to call back. Every part of me screamed not to. But something deeper, a mother's instinct maybe, pushed me to dial the number. He picked up on the first ring. "Mara." His voice was quieter now. Slower. Like he'd aged twice the years. I didn't waste time. "You have 60 seconds. Start talking. I know I don't deserve this. But I saw the news. About the eviction. Your stepmother. Your sister. I thought maybe you should know something before it gets worse." I blinked. Worse. I wasn't the only one your father lied to. My breath caught. Kyle continued. "Before he died, he called me. Left me a voicemail. Said he wanted to set things right. Said he kept something from you. Something about Harper." "Harper." I repeated, blood rushing to my ears. He hesitated. "Look, I don't want to say it over the phone. But I still have the message. And the letter." "What letter?" "The one your dad gave me the night before Harper was born." I felt like the ground beneath me shifted. That night, the hospital, my father had shown up, given Kyle a hard look, and walked off without saying a word to me. I thought it was just his usual bitterness. But there had been something else in his eyes that night. Panic. Kyle said quietly, "I know I failed you. But I never stopped thinking about her. I need to see you. Just once." I gave him a time. A place. Public. I didn't trust him enough for anything else. The next afternoon, I sat at a cafe, heart racing, fingers tight around my cup. He walked in wearing the same black jacket he'd worn the last time I saw him. His face was leaner, tired, but his eyes, those hadn't changed. Still full of guilt. He sat down. reached into his jacket, slid a folded envelope across the table. I hesitated, opened it. Inside was a letter in my father's handwriting, dated the week Harper was born. Mara, if Kyle gives this to you, then I'm gone. And you deserve the truth now. I wasn't proud of how I handled your pregnancy. I tried to break you two up because I believed Kyle would ruin your life. But I lied to both of you. I told Kyle that the baby wasn't his. I told him you cheated. I manipulated everything because I didn't want to lose you to a man I thought wasn't worthy. I blinked hard, but I was wrong. And the truth is, Harper is Kyle's daughter. I just didn't want to admit it. I ruined what you had. I stole your chance at a real family. I hope one day you can forgive me. I hope Kyle finds the courage to come back. I know I won't be there to fix it myself. The letter ended there. Kyle's voice cracked. I left because I thought you lied. I didn't even question it. But then, I saw her on the news, and it hit me. I couldn't breathe. The anger, the betrayal, the heartbreak, it all came back like a flood. And yet, part of me felt nothing but cold silence inside. You let me raise her alone, work 3 jobs, cry myself to sleep. You let me think I meant nothing. Kyle's voice was barely a whisper. I know. I hate myself for it. But if you'd let me, I'd like to get to know her. I won't ask for anything more. I stood up. That's not your choice to make. It's hers. He nodded slowly. She deserves better than secrets, I said, voice steady. And if you want even a shot at being in her life, you'll need to earn it. You'll need to show up every day. Not when it's convenient. Not because you feel guilty, but because she deserves someone who never leaves again. He didn't argue, didn't beg, just nodded. I walked away, my hand pressed against the letter in my coat. I didn't know if I could forgive my father. I didn't know if I could trust Kyle. But I did know this. My daughter was mine, raised with love, with fight, with every broken piece I'd glued back together with my bare hands. And no one would ever make her feel small again. Not her grandmother. Not her aunt. Not even her father. 2 months passed. Kyle kept his word. He showed up every Sunday, sitting 2 tables down at the same cafe where Harper and I did her homework. He brought sketchbooks, soft drinks, sometimes a silly joke, other times just silence. He never pushed, never called her daughter, never once crossed a line. Harper noticed. She asked me quietly one day, "Why does that man always bring me lemonade?" I looked her in the eyes. Because he missed a lot of time. And he's trying to make up for it. She thought for a while. Is he my dad? I paused. And then I nodded. Yes. But that doesn't mean anything unless you want it to. She blinked. Does that mean I have 2 dads? No, baby. You've always had one. He was just learning how to be one. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then, can he come to my school play? I felt my throat tighten. Only if you want him there. I do, she said. But he has to sit in the back row first. That night, I cried into my pillow, not out of pain, but something heavier. Relief. Harper wasn't angry. She wasn't bitter. She was cautious, but open. Braver than I'd ever been. Meanwhile, Nancy and Amber were still spiraling. They'd been evicted, publicly shamed, cut off from everything my father used to hand them on a silver platter. Then one day a letter arrived. Not from them. From their lawyer. They were suing me for emotional distress and unlawful eviction, claiming the property sale had been malicious, that I'd orchestrated a humiliation campaign to ruin their reputations. It was absurd, but they meant it. We went to court. It wasn't some big televised trial, just a packed room, a tired judge, and a few folders thick with history. Amber came in with her fake tears. Nancy, with a cane I'd never seen her use before. Their lawyer argued that I'd weaponized the property, shamed vulnerable women, and orchestrated a media attack. I didn't flinch. When it was my turn, I handed the judge one simple binder. My daughter's medical records, stress-induced insomnia, weight loss, night terrors, all from the weeks spent under Nancy's roof. Video stills of Amber and her daughters laughing while Harper stood crying. The notarized property agreement my father had signed. The eviction notice. The voicemail threats. And finally, my closing words. I didn't destroy their lives. I stopped letting them destroy mine. And if protecting my daughter's safety and dignity makes me the villain in their story, I'll wear that title proudly. The judge didn't even deliberate long. Case dismissed. Nancy screamed. Amber cried. Their lawyer just sighed. As I walked out of that courtroom, Kyle was waiting in the hallway with a single paper bag. What's that? I asked. He handed it to me. Inside, an old ceramic figurine. A ballerina. Harper's first toy. Broken years ago. Glued back together. I kept it, he said. I always meant to return it. I don't know why. My eyes stung. Because deep down you knew she deserved it back. A week later, Harper performed at her school play. I sat in the front row. Kyle sat in the back. At one point, she looked out into the crowd, squinting. Then she smiled. Small but real. After the final bow, she ran straight to me. But before she hugged me, she stopped, turned, and walked up to Kyle. She held out the toy ballerina he'd returned. You can hold this, she said. But only during plays. He nodded, eyes wet. Deal. Today the house is gone. Sold. The keys returned. We live somewhere new now. Smaller. Warmer. Ours. No whispers. No shouting. Just peace. I'm still Mara Weston, single mother, CEO, survivor. But now? Now I'm also a woman who knows exactly how strong she is when everything falls apart, and how far she'll go for her daughter. And if Nancy and Amber ever find themselves in another courtroom, it won't be because I put them there. It'll be because they still haven't learned that karma doesn't ask permission. It just shows up.